It's been a busy offseason for VGK, and it's just getting started. From the draft to free agency, we got you covered in all things Vegas Golden Knights. Let's do this thing. City Beat starts right now.
From Las Vegas, this is City Beat.
Hello and welcome to City Beat. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. I'm your host, Mike Davis. City Beat is the show that dissects the Vegas sports world through the eyes of the sports reporters and storytellers leading the charge. This time, we're breaking down the offseason facing the Vegas Golden Knights. And joining the action on the panel today, we have Case Kiefer, assistant sports editor and writer at the Las Vegas Sun. Chris Chapman, reporter for Fox Sports Las Vegas and producer of the VGK Insider Show, and a first-timer, Jesse Granger, reporter for The Athletic and NHL Network. So it's great to have you guys here with us. So NHL free agency starts tomorrow. The right winger from Toronto Maple Leafs is widely considered the top prize in free agency. Coming off a career-high 102 points, Mitch Marner helped lead the Leafs to an Atlantic Division title. Now, is Marner coming to Vegas? Is it a possibility or is it a dream? Jesse, what's your take on that?
Well, I think from both sides, it's a perfect match in terms of Mitch Marner's looking for a contender that has cap space. The Golden Knights are both of those. And for the Golden Knights, to me, their biggest need this offseason is more offensive firepower on the wing. Hard to find a winger with more offensive firepower than the guy with 102 points last year. I think he's third in the NHL in points by wingers since he entered the NHL. He's a playmaker. He drives offense on a line. It's hard to find a winger that becomes available with all those attributes. He's everything the Golden Knights could ask for in a player. So in terms of the match, it's definitely there. It's just a case of can they work out the contract.
And for the Leafs to let a guy like this go, it's just a cap situation? I mean, why wouldn't they want to have him alongside Matthews?
He's not a perfect player. He hasn't scored as much in the playoffs as they would like. And everybody that watches hockey knows the Toronto Maple Leafs playoff struggles well. Mitch Marner's been a part of that. He's more of a pass-first player. He doesn't shoot the puck as much as some other wingers. He hasn't scored in the playoffs in the big moments. It reminds me a bit of the verbiage we heard of Jack Eichel, though, when he was in Buffalo. He's a great, talented player. He doesn't get it done. I think a change of scenery for Mitch Marner, whether it's in Vegas or with another contender, I think that he could easily make those worries go away. But he wasn't the perfect player for Toronto, and there definitely were some issues
Yeah, you
there.
stole the words right out of my mind. Change the scenery sounds like the thing here. Case, you're not in your head a lot. Are you in love with this guy, Mitch Marner?
Well, he stole different words right out of my mouth. Who invited this guy? I wanted to write a column about this. Talk about this. I really feel like there's like eerie parallels with him and Jack Eichel. I will say when these rumblings first came up, I wrote about it and I heard some negative feedback. I wasn't sold on the idea of bringing Mitch Marner on just because, and Jesse nailed this too, the contract. I kind of always scorn when a team wants to build their team through free agency. I thought it'd probably be a bidding war. They're going to give him this huge contract. It's going to be so hard to live up to. He's going to have to hit even a higher level than he would. However, now we hear some other avenues, maybe a sign and trade. Maybe he takes a pay cut or not a pay cut, but takes a little bit more of a team-friendly deal than you'd expect being in Vegas. So at this point, I feel like it's hard to doubt the Golden Knights front office with all these maneuvers they've paid over the years. So I have a little bit more open mind, but my first reaction was like, Mitch Marner, is this really the direction you want to go with the money he's going to command?
Okay, now, Magnum 702, as we talk about the potential nefarious component to this situation with the tampering and the sign and trade situation, all these things that are kind of percolating on media and social media right now. What's your take on this? Is this a no-brainer to get a guy like Marner? And what do you think is actually going to happen with some of these tampering allegations?
Well, I don't think anything will ever amount to the tampering. Like, I think it's so difficult to prove that, the tampering took place. It seems like everybody's tampering with someone because at 12:01 in the afternoon on July 1st, you're going to see a bunch of guys signing deals. You mean they just magically decided 1 minute after free agency started? No. So I think that's difficult to prove. I'm not as sold on Marner as these two guys because I think the Golden Knights need a bona fide, legitimate goal scorer. Now, there were some rumblings that Jason Robertson in Dallas might be available. He's a 40-goal scorer. He's younger. He's under contract for another year at under $8 million. You worry about the RFA stuff a year from now. Listen, Marner's a great player, but as Jesse and Case have both said, he hasn't scored in the playoffs. He's a bit of a pass-first guy. I'm trying to envision where he fits.
But don't you think, the culture, the situation that Vegas has, could it potentially bring out the best in a player who
absolutely.
already has so much going for himself.
Absolutely. It has in so many other players. I mean, nobody knew who William Karlsson was 8 years ago. He comes here 43 goals later. He's like, wow, this guy's, I want his jersey.
Is he the absolute prize in your mind out of top prize?
Well, he's the best player available. Yeah.
I agree a
without-
lot with what Chris said. I think that Jason Robertson would be a bigger prize to me, but I never looked at that as realistic. Maybe Jesse's a better
Yeah.
person to ask about that, but I never thought that could really happen. But if he was available, I think he's a better fit than Mitch Marner.
I mean, the Stars have to clear cap space. They're in a cap problem. The decision for them is, do we trade Jason Robertson, who has a ton of value? You're going to recoup a lot of value, or do you try to trade some of your players down the lineup with bigger cap hits that you're probably going to have to pay someone to take?
Okay.
Golden Knights fans listening to this are well aware of those types of trades. The Golden Knights haven't been afraid. They traded Max Pacioretty for essentially nothing. They traded Marc-Andre Fleury coming off a Vezina season for no return at all. But the return was opening cap space. The question for the Stars is, do they want to go down that road, or would they prefer to trade Jason? To me, I agree with these guys. Jason Robertson would be an excellent fit. The Golden Knights are a pass-first team. They ended their season on a 127-minute goalless drought. Scoring is the problem. Mitch Marner can help that by helping create goals. He's a playmaker, but he's not going to score a ton of them himself.
Okay.
So I do agree with these guys that there are some questions as to, will Mitch Marner help as much as his salary cap is going to take up on this team?
This is why I love Sin City Beat, because we get the context here. At Magnum 702, just to let you know, feel free to tamper with me whenever you want. Okay? All right. Guys, next, GM Kelly McCrimmon has already pulled the trigger on a big trade. Coming up, we're talking about the deal that sent Nick Hague to Nashville.
You're watching Sin City Beat.
Okay, so Nick Hague is on the way out in the trade announced Monday morning. VGK received forward Colton Sissons and defenseman Jeremy Lozon. Chapman, Magnum 702, what's your take on this trade with Nashville? It seems like all of our guys are going to the Predators. From Marchessault last year now to Hague.
It seems like it's a precursor to something bigger happening. Now, for Nick Hague, it's a great deal, right? Nashville, tax-free state. He's going to get $5.5 million a year, which is something he was definitely not going to get here. I don't think because he's not worth it, but because I just don't think there was a way for the Golden Knights to afford that in their situation.
Yeah.
But as far as what they got back, they got Colton Sissons, who's a very good defensive forward. That's kind of what he's known for. Again, another guy who doesn't really score a lot of goals. I think he only had 7 goals last year. And Jeremy Lozon, he's I guess you would maybe call him a specialist, because he was injured a bit last season, but even when you look at his career, he basically only plays about half a season because he's more of a matchup guy. Now, he's physical, he's big, he's 6'3", 225. He led the league in hits one year. So certainly a guy who is going to go out there and bang. But as far as, I mean, they took on more cap. Unfortunately, they were able to get Nashville to retain some of the cap on Sissons, but still, it makes me think there's something else coming, Mike. I mean, when I look at it, I'm like, this can't be all that the Golden Knights are doing.
Okay, see something else potentially in the works. Jesse, tell us, do you share the same sentiment, and who won this trade?
I think both teams got what they wanted. Like Chris mentioned, the Golden Knights weren't going to be able to pay Nick Hague that type of salary. And to be honest, based on Nick Hague's production to this point in the NHL, I think 5.5 is a lot of money for him. Now, he was stuck behind some really offensively talented blue liners in Vegas, Alex Pietrangelo, Shea Theodore, Noah Hannafin. They're eating up all the offensive opportunities, be it on the power play or at even strength. Maybe Nashville is going to give him a little bit more leeway offensively. He's got a big shot. We all know how he can rip it from the point. Maybe he ends up living up to that. I do think it's a bit rich of a deal when you just look at it on the surface. It's going to be hard for Hague to live up to that. In terms of what Vegas got back, Sissons can play fourth line center minutes. He can kill penalties. Lozon, he only plays half the games because he's hurt all the time, because all he does is hit. He's a human wrecking ball.
Oh.
I'm
Fans will like that.
very curious, like Chris said, is there another move coming? Because the initial reaction when Nick Hague got traded, we all kind of expected that. It didn't come out of nowhere. We were kind of expecting Nick Hague to get traded because he needed that contract, but we thought it would be a cap-clearing move. The fact that they bring as much salary back as they do with Sissons and Lozon is very curious to me for a team that doesn't have a ton of cap space and is looking to potentially add a big contract in free agency. it was a little confusing for me that they would bring that much salary cap back.
Wow, so Case, is this the move before the move, or as they say in tennis, the shot before the shot?
Yeah, certainly seems like the move before the move to me. And as far as who won, I think Jesse alluded to this, but it was Nick Hague. I had to kind of look twice at that, the money they got for him. This is 2 years in a row. You can run back the tape. I said, what are the Predators doing? They're paying these guys too much money. I feel like that happened again. So, I don't think you're going to see a lot of Colton Sissons or Jeremy Lozon jerseys in the stands at T-Mobile. But, I mean, Sissons is a trustworthy player. I don't think he's going to kill you. And Lozon, when he's on the ice, like Jesse said, is probably going to get some cheers from just wrecking everything in his path. So I thought it was a decent move for the Golden Knights. You knew it was going to come, and congratulations to Nick Hague on that big contract.
Yeah, speak about winning. I mean, his contract, he's basically making the same amount of money as Marcia, so
Right,
that
so-
kind of gives you an idea of how much he's getting from Nashville.
Okay, all right, so it could be the move before the move. But guys, next, what's the top priority for the Golden Knights this off-season? We got the answer after the break. Welcome back to Sin City Beat. Well, last year was an eventful offseason for the Golden Knights, with most notably Jonathan Marchessault leaving for Nashville. And after a solid regular season, then a disappointing loss in the playoffs to the Oilers, the question now is, what is the top priority for the team this offseason? So, Case, what's your opinion when it comes to top priority for this team, and does it have to do with Jack Eichel?
Yeah, I still think getting Jack Eichel to that extension is number one, but it's no secret beyond that. I think anyone that watched this team at all and how the season ended would say they got to get the offense a little bit better, and I do certainly agree. I mean, getting shut out twice in the decisive series loss to the Oilers. I will say I feel like I want to pump the brakes a little bit and not panic as much as I've seen the fan base. I mean, this is still a team that scored a lot of goals during the regular season. I'm still always going to default to that bigger sample size. That being said, this is a team that goes in every year. They're trying to win the cup every year. You see the aggressive moves they make. I do think there are some edges that they need to exploit a little bit more offensively.
Okay, top priority for you, Magnum 702.
Well, they have to find a way to get better than the Edmonton Oilers. I mean, this is a team that's been to 2 consecutive Stanley Cup finals, and yeah, they lost them both, but that is now the team that you have to go through in the Pacific. The other aspect is you have to find a way to stay better than Los Angeles, because the Kings have a lot of money to spend, and they're a playoff team. In fact, I think they may end up being the team to win the Pacific next year. So you're going to have to find a way to get better than one team and remain better than the other, or you could find yourself in third place real quick.
So, Jesse, the priorities with Eichel, locking him up long term, the cap is increasing over the next few years, right? So do you see the timeline working out for this team? And priority-wise, how worried are you about that? And is that absolute number one top priority?
Well, yes, I think locking up Jack Eichel long-term has got to be the top priority. He's the biggest piece of this team. He is the centerpiece of this team. He's the best player, and as soon as July 1st hits tomorrow, he'll be eligible for an extension. I don't expect it to take too long. Like you said, the cap is going up a lot. I expect his deal to reflect that. I think we're going to see a lot of deals tomorrow when free agency opens that are maybe a lot higher than people expect because this rising cap, and we haven't adjusted our expectations to what these contracts are going to look like. I'll throw in there as another top priority, though, something that maybe we weren't thinking about a couple weeks ago, but with the reports that Alex Pietrangelo may or may not be healthy to play for this season. We asked General Manager Kelly McCrimmon the other day, and he said, we're still trying to figure some things out. We're trying to get clarity on that. Alex Pietrangelo's got some decisions to make, whether that, we don't know for sure, but whether that's a surgery that he may or may not have to undergo. Wow. To me, he's been such a workhorse for this team. Shea Theodore led the defenseman in points. Noah Hannafin is the new acquisition that just got the big contract. But to me, Alex Pietrangelo is the best defenseman on this team. He's their most relied upon guy to work to take on the heaviest minutes. And if they're going to be without him for any portion of the season or potentially the entire season, to me, the biggest priority is finding out who's that going to be, whether it's going to be Theodore stepping up into that role or whether you're going to go out and try to acquire another defenseman. The defense has been the anchor of this team. We've talked a lot on this show about how they need to improve the scoring, but the reason we're talking about that is because the defense is so settled. Right. If Alex Pietrangelo's not back there, all of a sudden this defense isn't as settled as we thought it was.
So just to follow up with you on that, Jesse, is the best way acquisition-wise to shore that up if Pietrangelo can't go, is that via trade or via free agency?
Well, there aren't a lot. I mean, there's a chance Aaron Ekblad leaves Florida. I think Florida's trying to lock him up. He's the top defensive guy on the market if he doesn't end up re-signing with Florida. Other than that, it's probably going to have to be via trade, and you could go through the options. I mean, there's Erik Karlsson in Pittsburgh. He's been traded a lot lately. I don't know if he's the answer when you need a defensive workhorse the way Alex Pietrangelo was. To me, the easiest way is having Shea Theodore or Noah Hannafin step into that role. Are they ready for it? Neither of them have done that for the Golden Knights. They've always been a good defenseman who helps out on the power play, can pitch in some offense, but they haven't had to play 25 minutes a night against the opposing top line every single night. So it's not an easy thing to fix. There may not be anything harder. Maybe an elite goalie is the only thing in the NHL that's harder to find than a workhorse number one defenseman, the way Alex Pietrangelo's been for his entire career. So if he's not able to go, it's not going to be an easy hole to fill.
Okay, all right, interesting stuff there. Look at, first timer, guys. This is the insights we're getting from Jesse Granger, and we'll be talking a little bit about Magnum 702 and where he's headed. So it's good we got a new guy here in the fold. But guys, the draft brought some new and exciting talent to Vegas. After a short break, we have more on the draft selections by GM Kelly McCrimmon. The NHL draft went down Friday and Saturday. The Golden Knights did not have a first-round selection because of the Tomas Hertl trade. They entered the draft with 6 picks, but ended up making some trades, winding up with 4 selections. Forward Jakub Wozniak in the second round, forward Matteo Nobert in the third round, and then back-to-back picks in the sixth. Vegas scooped up Alexander Weiermeyer and defenseman Gustav Zoidquist. I hope I said that right. So Jesse Granger, I know your pronunciation might be a little bit better than me, but what's your biggest takeaway from the draft and what GM Kelly McCrimmon did?
Yeah, I like what they did in adding Jakub Wozniak. To me, the later picks are lottery tickets. That's in the NHL draft. You're probably not going to get NHL players out of those. But with a second-round pick, you do hope that that guy eventually plays in the NHL. And I liked the style of player they added. He's a big, strong power forward with an excellent shot. And to me, that's very different from the type of forward the Golden Knights have drafted over the years. If you look through their prospect pool, they've got a lot of two-way players they're not special anywhere, but they're just solid everywhere. You look at like Jonas Rombier. He's not going to come in and score a bunch of goals, but he's relied upon. He can be a fourth-line guy. He can be a bottom-six guy. To me, they don't have, other than adding Trevor Connolly last year, they don't have a lot of offensive upside. So I really like what Wozniak brings in terms of he can be a top-6 player if he reaches his potential. We spoke with Bob Lowe's, one of their draft gurus, the other day, and he mentioned that they think that once they get him in their physical preparation, once they get their trainers working with him, they can get him to be a beast of a power forward that can drive to the net, and he's already got a good shot. So I like adding a little bit of offensive upside to a talent pool that's mostly defensive-minded forwards.
See, I like that, and I'm not going to make pretend here that I know anything about these guys, but what I do know is whenever you have a hyphen on an athlete's jersey and you have that, you get a little extra juice with the hyphen, you know? So it's a good look on the back of the jersey, but it's also potentially some juice for a player we're hoping to see. Case, what were your takeaways from this draft? Because it was interesting. Heading in, they had 6 picks, and it seemed like they were wheeling and dealing, trading all around to make some selections.
Well, I'm getting some juice from hearing Jesse describe this guy. He sounds good for me. I'm ready to get him in development camp and see what happens. But I will say, if I'm a Golden Knights fan, I'm always a little bit hesitant to totally embrace these guys because we've just seen time and time again they're so aggressive on the trade market. Like, what's the chances that one of these high prospects actually ends up being a meaningful contributor to the Golden Knights? We've seen time and time again they ship them out for the shiny new toy. It's worked for him. It's not a criticism. I just always say if you love prospects, maybe not the team you want to be a fan of.
Well, listen, draft capital, draft capital, draft capital. Magnum 702, what were your thoughts taking a look at that long list of guys now entering the mix? What do you like? What do you don't like?
Well, they certainly won the all-name draft.
Yes.
You know, you look at Matteo Norbert. I mean, Norbert,
beautiful, right.
Great name, Matteo. You can't ever go wrong with a guy named Matteo.
Wozniak. Yeah. I mean, I just love that.
But like to kind of talk about what Case was mentioning, don't fall in love with any of these guys because you can go back to the very first draft. Cody Glass, Nick Suzuki, Eric Brandstrom, and now Nick Hague. Their first 4 draft picks in team history have all been traded away.
Yeah.
At some point in their career. So I don't know if we'll ever see these guys in Vegas. We'll probably see some of them in Henderson. You know, like Jesse was kind of saying, really early on is when you're going to get NHL players, and after that, it's kind of. I mean, Mark Stone was a 6th-round pick. I think Jesse mentioned Rombier. I think he was also a 6th-round pick. So after that, you go through the history of the team and you look at all their draft picks. Generally, after the third round, guys aren't making the NHL. Like I think one of the lower picks that they've had to make it is actually Dorofeyev, who was a third round pick, and he's one of the lower guys that they've drafted who've made it to the league. So we'll see some of these guys at Dev Camp, and we'll see how they look. I'm looking forward to seeing the Wozniak kid. Big guy who can shoot. I'm a fan of that.
Don't forget the hyphen. It's Ish Wozniak.
Ish Wozniak.
There you go. Real quickly, got about 2 minutes. Off the field issues for last year's first round pick and Trevor Connolly. There's not my favorite dude on the face of the planet, but I wouldn't be doing my job unless we really talked about him because he does have a lot of potential. What's the update on Trevor Connolly, and what do we think the impact he can bring to this team could be? Is that going to be something we see in the short term?
It's going to be interesting to see where he ends up because he's taken an interesting path. He was drafted last year. He goes to Providence for his freshman year. Typically, players who go to play college hockey finish their amateur career in college hockey and then go straight from there to whether it be the NHL or the AHL. Now, he did come up. He played a couple games with the Silver Knights. It looked like he was heading towards starting his professional career with his first full professional season this year in the AHL. He was drafted in a minor junior draft, which suggests that there are some people out there that think he may actually go up to play some junior hockey, which is not the typical. Usually you don't see players going from college up to major junior in Canada, but I think that if he doesn't impress in Golden Knights rookie camp and in Golden Knights main training camp this fall, there is a chance he could end up going up there to continue his development. So it's an odd path, but maybe it's the one that works for him. It's going to be interesting to see. He really needs an impressive camp to show them, I'm ready. I don't think he's going to be ready for the NHL this year. I don't see that happening. Maybe a call up here or there, but for the most part, he needs to prove that he's ready for the American Hockey League and to be a full-time professional.
All right. Well, thank you so much to our great panel, Jesse Granger, Case Kiefer, and we're wishing you the best of luck, Magnum 702. Headed to Japan. I was going to wear a kimono all show long, but didn't think it would be becoming. So we'll see you next time. Safe travels. We'll see you next time here on Sin City Beat.